Okay, and I asked people for fights for December. Somebody mentioned Juggernaut versus Cell. Now, this one is going to be kind of like your classic tank versus blaster. When I envision Juggernaut, I envision what I refer to as the classic Juggernaut, the one who's able to take, a full Odin Force enhanced blast from Mjolnir and keep on walking because of the impenetrable force field. The same version that when Hulk was War Hulk, yes, one of the four horsemen of the apocalypse, he was able to slow down Juggernaut. Not stop him, slow him down. When Juggernaut faced a World War Hulk, Hulk could only do one thing, and that was engagement and test of strength, and then sidestep and let him just go rocketing off to the side. So we're looking at the sheer epitome of what a tank is versus Cell. I'll go with perfect Cell here. Cell from the Dragon Ball Z universe, I'm going with the version before he was initially defeated or initially teleported away by Goku. So this is the one who's actually absorbed both of the androids. He has all of the abilities of the characters up to this point in time. I won't give him the instant transmission because I think that's kind of a Deus Ex Machina power, and I hate those for these sorts of battles. So you've got like the epitome of Blaster, the character Cell who was able to take on almost all the Dragon Ball Z characters, but then get absolutely annihilated by Super Saiyan Level 2 Gohan, versus the near unstoppable Juggernaut. Yes, I'm going with this Juggernaut as opposed to the one who gets, knocked unconscious by a Colossus. I'm also doing, I'm not going to do the current version of Juggernaut, which is Colossus enhanced with the Crimson Gem of Cyttorak. I don't read Marvel currently, so I don't know how that happened, but I still prefer my old school classic Juggernaut, like from the story of Spider-Man versus Juggernaut, where everything Spider-Man does not slow Juggernaut down. Webs, buildings, Juggernaut is just that. If he wants to go forward, he's going to go forward. Doesn't matter if it's buildings, bombs, Hulk, Thing, Thor, Sentry. If you have an adamantium wall, he's going to hit that wall until the foundation breaks, and he's just going to push it with him. So as always, we got the 9 criteria: intelligence, fighting ability, strength, speed, durability, and vulnerability, energy projection, versatility, and X factor. As always, the higher the number, the more likely you will probably be able to defeat your opponent. We're going to start first. Intelligence. I'm going to have to give this one to Cell. Not saying that Juggernaut is an idiot by any stretch of imagination, but he's not the most intelligent when it comes to fighting. But then again, he doesn't have to be. Fighting ability. Juggernaut's like a punch-kick sort of guy, versus Cell, who has essentially the fighting abilities of the world's greatest warriors. Strength. I have to give this one to Juggernaut. Juggernaut's sheer feats of strength are just ridiculous. He is essentially a god-enhanced tank that happens to be bright red. Speed. You've got the lightning-quick speed of Cell. Juggernaut has never been shown to have any sort of super speed at all. But then again, he would be frightening if he did have super speed. He'd be a running earthquake. Durability. This one by far has to go to Juggernaut. Juggernaut ironically has like instantaneous healing. An endurance that is unmatched by anybody. This is why to defeat him, you normally throw him someplace and they go, okay, it'll take him a while to get back here. That's pretty much what you do. I'm not going to look at the Marvel versus DC version where he got knocked out by just about everybody. I've always hated when they're like, oh, Sun Punch me got knocked out. He is a god-enhanced character. That'd be like saying, oh, you know what? Someone should be easy to be able to knock out Thor in one punch. He's a god. This is an elder god-enhanced villain. Invulnerability. It has to go by far to Juggernaut. Juggernaut has an impenetrable force field. That's why whenever he fought most of the X-Men, it's one they hate about the cartoon. When they had him in there, they always had him cut off the helmet. Why would you put on a removable helmet that blocks psionic abilities? You'd almost think if the rest of his body armor was essentially fused together, you would fuse the helmet on too. Energy projection. You have all the abilities of all the greatest fighters in the world. Period. It's Cell. Versatility. Again, you have all of the abilities, from the mini cells, from everything. The ability to clone yourself into multiple versions and do multiple attacks at the same time. That's just off the charts. X Factor. Remember this from the Juggernaut, and here's my reason why. In this sort of fight, Cell has got all these capabilities. However, if he decides to just stand there and blast a Kamehameha wave at Juggernaut, Juggernaut is going to sooner or later push his way towards Cell. Like what we saw in the cartoon, one good solid punch from Gohan was enough to make Cell do what? Puke up one of the androids and become weaker. So if what we're looking at is a guy who's not going to get tired in Juggernaut, who has an impenetrable force field, who can take all sorts of bludgeoning, especially from energy weapons, cutting discs are going to do nothing. The flying cells that explode, it might do great to rock him, but it's not going to knock him off his feet. It's not going to take him down. It's going to slow him down, but that's about it. So if Juggernaut can get close and get a couple good shots on Cell, Cell ironically was shown to have relatively poor, invulnerability and durability. So probably one or two good shots from Juggernaut will probably make him throw up one of his androids, and that'll make him a lot weaker. Then potentially, if Juggernaut can get a couple more shots, probably pick up another one and then become, the very first version of Cell. If Juggernaut gets him down to that, Juggernaut can probably bludgeon him to death. The problem we're going to run into is you have to essentially atomize it. And that's what Juggernaut cannot do. Juggernaut will probably... you've got one version who's just, you cannot stop him, versus a version that he just cannot kill. You have to destroy Cell down to a molecular level. And I don't think Juggernaut could eventually do it. I think Juggernaut probably get him to the point where it's going to be absolutely futile, and Cell's going to go, yeah, I am beaten, I am broken, I can't defeat this guy. At the same time, Juggernaut's going to go, I've beaten this guy for like 2 or 3 days. I just cannot seem to defeat him. But it'd be more likely that's going to happen is Cell's going to be able to do something to put Juggernaut on the shelf, either by putting a giant Kamehameha wave into him, and then sidestepping and letting Juggernaut run probably a couple 100 miles, and then kind of just fleeing. Because that's how I pictured Cell will have to win, essentially, by having Juggernaut defeat Juggernaut. Even if he hits him on all 4 sides, unless he's going to hit him from the surface and just bury him into the center of the earth. And then over time, Juggernaut will get his way out, because he essentially isn't immortal. So I don't picture any of these having at all a clean, easy fight against the other. If Juggernaut can get a hold of Cell, he's probably going to beat Cell pretty badly, and Cell's going to retreat. In order for Cell to win, he has to do something to essentially encapsulate Juggernaut, for lack of a better term. Whether it's, drop a mountain on him, he's going to do something that's going to be just off the wall insane to essentially slow Juggernaut down long enough to escape.